You can even take it a step back in creating your product. You're not just creating a product, you're creating a product for an ICP that you want to sell to. So that way it makes that finding your ICP that much easier instead of creating a product and trying to figure out who your ICP is.
If you intend to use social media as your organic channel, you better invest in yourself and human and get involved on social media. You better be scrolling, you better be looking, you better be observing, you gotta be learning. You've gotta be involved inside of what it means and watch what other creators are doing, because that will inspire you and that'll get you going into the right direction.
You can't assume you're gonna just create this community that doesn't exist, right? You wanna be a part and have a community that's part of a community that would exist without your product. So going back to the Reddit days, and there were a bunch of bulletin board-esque sites as well, where the older generation never left.
Don't sell the product, give value. It's not just about posting about your product, it's actually contributing to the micro moment somebody might have and helping them get through it. Don't have a monologue, have a dialogue. Because if you're just posting and talking from your lens, from your perspective, you're not actually engaging people. You have to go in and engage people, and whether it's off of your social profile or on your social profile, not just about posting and forgetting about it, is actually finding conversations to be part of.
Crew's gonna be here at 7 a.m. this morning. I set my alarm for 7. It's actually the time I have my normal alarm set for.
You're gonna be here at 7. What time did you set your alarm for?
7.
Did you wake up before 7?
Well, I'm getting there. I think you know the answer. And I know, but at 7 o'clock, they're gonna be here at 7. I'm closest by the door. I'm gonna open it at like 6:30, 6:35. I feel like I'm in Chicago. I mean, it's just
Loud.
It's so loud, and I'm like, man, must be, really good crew. They got here 30 minutes early. They're just ready to go and start. And I look at text, and clearly Brian's up, Jimmy's up. They're texting.
I sent a video of the shower.
Yeah. What?
Not me in the shower, just the shower.
Oh yeah.
That would have been weird.
And I'm like, Jimmy's like, the film crew's about to be here, and I'm like, they're already here. And Jimmy's like, no, they're not. And I'm like, well, what is all this noise going on upstairs? Like, it woke me up. It was aggressively loud. I come upstairs, I'm like, Brian, who's sitting on the couch. I'm like, did you hear all the noise? He's like, yeah. He's like, I think it was Jimmy upstairs.
Now, mind you, he's on the first floor.
You're on the third.
And I'm on the
Yeah,
third floor.
and I know,
So this
and
doesn't really work.
I called her, like, I was like, really? I was like, third floor? He's like, yeah. She's being really loud up there. I'm like, man, like, he was really loud. I assumed the film crew was here. We had this whole conversation, didn't say anything at all, blamed it on you. And then afterwards I look over, he's moved all the couches. It was Brian this morning, just at 6:30, just moving furniture.
Yeah.
Obnoxiously loud.
Yeah.
And then you just denied it and tried to blame it on Jimmy.
I'm like, oh, that must have been it. It's like, yeah, you moving furniture
But
was
you were so good with the lie. I felt like you believed, like you forgot you moved
forgot I did.
Like he was genuine.
Actually, when I did remind, I said, who moved the couches? He goes, oh yeah, I did that.
You're
Sleepwalking.
terrorizing.
All right, boys, we're going to shoot this pod. We're talking about how to acquire your first 1,000 customers organically, continuing on from the topic from last
do it.
week.
Hell yeah.
Let's keep going in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the ASOM Pod, where we talk a lot. Ecom is the path that we walk a lot. From 4 point of views when we're talking shop. Amir from the agency and Jimmy from SAS. John has an Android, but give him a pass. Cause he's an operator building brands like a carpenter. And that's Brian, he is the marketer. Like I said, this the ASOM Pod, where we talk a lot. Ecom is the path that we walk a lot. From 4 point of views when we're talking shop.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the ASOM Pod, a show about perspective from the eyes of an agency, SaaS, operator, and marketer focused on the D2C, e-commerce, and retail space. All right, quick introductions for those that do not know. We've got number 1, John Roman, the Android-loving survival king. What's up, John? How are you doing, dude?
I'm good.
I feel like we should add in now, like, what we do and who we're with.
Like what?
For, like, new listeners, like...
Like I'm with Colleen?
No. Like, you're,
Like I'm a child?
You're the Android-loving survival king, but I have no idea, like... Are you with
is that not enough for you?
I don't know.
Brian?
New people that are watching, they may not know who you are.
It's in the show descriptions if they want to look and learn more about us.
Yeah, but I agree. I think we should say something like he runs a $20+ million
That's
business.
too much. We talked about this. People stopped tuning. They've already probably started tuning out
You're
because
right,
we were talking about too much stuff.
talked about it. All right, let's
We
continue.
talked about this. We used to have this, Amir. All right. We have Amara Groston as she builds websites. All right, let's go to Brian.
I sell dog food.
There he goes. He likes meats. And I do
Jimmy
things.
loves email.
I like do things that I sell in email. Good?
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay.
Love
good.
it.
All right. Well, let's keep rolling. If you are curious enough of what we do in our day jobs, below in the description, you can read that and learn more about that. That's what the descriptions are for. With that, two things that we like to always tell people about. Number one, if you want to subscribe to our newsletter, awesompod.com, you can subscribe to newsletter. We'll alert you about the newest and latest episodes. We also do some hot takes and all that good stuff. Secondly, if you want to hang out with us, you enjoy our conversations and you want to talk more about with us, what are you laughing at?
Brian's a
Oh, he is a child.
Not a child.
Okay. Anyways, commerceroundtable.com. It's a live event, September 22nd, 23rd. We've got some amazing speakers. It's on the water. We got Gary Vaynerchuk, Taylor Holiday, Ezra Firestone. There's a lot more coming down the line here as we continue on.
Gary
You'll
V
hear.
is a big deal.
That's
It
a
is
big deal.
I'm really excited about.
I know.
Like,
He's
I don't
good.
get excited about.
I
There's
know.
other guys they're great. They're
Yeah, they're
smart
great.
people.
They're smart people,
But
but
like, dude, having Gary V at the
I
top.
The
know.
three of us should curate a card thing for him for the green screen
we
room.
should. You guys should get him a card thing. Get him flipping cards, talking about it. Let's do it. Let's figure a way for him to talk about the event.
Gary V one-on-one and buy it.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm in.
Let's talk about it. All right, boys. All right, today we are talking about how to acquire your first 1,000 customers organically. I'm using that keyword and I'm making sure it's really loud because Amer can't hear me sometimes, and I just want to continue to say organically. Free. No cash.
No cap.
No cap.
Either.
Zero. Okay?
$0.
All right. I'm going to continue on from last week's conversation. If you missed our last week conversation, we talked about a lot about, how to validate your product. And I want to start on with this topic with ideal customer profile, because I really want to beat this in people's heads, because we've even had these conversations. We have conversations all the time. And I think this comes with seasonality of like being a seasoned entrepreneur and starting to really understand what it means. But I think that the more we can teach people early on in their career what it means and why it's so important and understanding it, and in order to have a successful business, I believe this is the core foundation of having it. Sometimes people fall into it. Sometimes people learn about it over time. But a lot of people don't know. Your product is not for men 18 to 24 or 18 to 35 or 18 to 40 for anybody who has walking or has feet. Like, that's not your product, right? You've got to get really core down to drilling down to those things. And before you can even go off and build your product, build packaging, do any of the things that you need to do to organically get your first customers, you've got to know who the heck you're selling to, right? So when you guys talk about this, right? And I know you guys go back to your early days and you think about it. How do you start identifying this, at least in your words? Like, what do you think about when you're trying to identify who your ideal customer is?
Yeah, I mean, I love surveys. I know John's a big survey guy too. I think there's a lot that you can also do. I know we're talking about, your first 1,000 customers, but there's also something in regards to if you choose the sampling route when you first start out to find product market fit. I think there's a way in which you can have a survey that gives you a little bit of information in regards to who is sampling your product or purchasing for the first time. And you can sort of take that and expand from there.
But I want to take it one step before that. Before you even have a single customer, how do you get that data?
I would suggest one of the most powerful tools to understand market, what other companies doing, how they're interacting, complaints, all that fun stuff. Reddit. Go on Reddit. Get into threads, start having conversation with people that are unique credits to that market. And there's so much information.
That you think is your market, right?
We started on Reddit.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you think your market, or is it the
Pre-launch.
market you think you're going to go
on the
after?
threads and message boards.
Pre-launch, we were on Reddit.
And how detailed do you think you have to get at that point?
Well, I think what is going to give you, depending actually on different threads, some threads are extremely detailed and people put a lot of time and energy providing feedback. On some are more general, but what I think what it gives you an ability is to sit down, map out kind of the sentiment in the market, and then you also have the ability to start threads and conversations with specific people, and then you could actually get on the phone with them, send them messages, emails, whatever the case is. But I think Reddit is this like underutilized consumer feedback loop, kind of like actually like X and Twitter were like years ago.
I'll overgeneralize here to make it so it's not just relatable to people that can find something on Reddit. I think Reddit is a great vessel for it. I think it's as simple as find the communities that exist without your
I
product.
like that. Yeah, go find the places where you believe they live.
And join the community.
Yeah, because it's not true. They're not always on Reddit. They could be on
Reddit,
Facebook
a
groups.
lot are. But
yeah, they could be on your local surf shop in front of your surf shop. This is just so
find your community.
Yeah, you got to
I
find
think-
who you believe you're selling to.
Reddit is a lot more inclusive than like a Facebook group, because I think with some Facebook groups, they're like more heavily moderated.
Yeah, but Reddit has its own issues.
It does, but I think it's easier to join a Reddit community, become a contributor, than some Facebook groups.
Yeah, but to the point, it might be your surf shop.
Yeah.
Like it might be your farmer's market, depending on your product. Like get into the community.
Sales tax stress, let Kintsugi slide. AI in your pocket, now enjoy the ride. 9 hours saved, that's time back in play. No tax guy needed, AI clears the way. Errors cut deep, not with this plan. 98.3%, my man. Click once, integrate, white glove, you'll see. Mention awesome, get 3 months for free. Sales tax headaches? Kintsugi AI turns tax chaos into something beautiful. The smart AI monitors, files, and optimizes your sales taxes automatically, saving customers 9 hours monthly while cutting errors by 98.3%. No expensive tax guy needed here. One-click integrations and white glove support. Mention awesome for 3 months free at trykintsugi.com.
I also think you can even take it a step back, and when you're creating your product, you're not just creating a product, you're creating a product for an ICP that you want to sell to. So that way it makes that finding your ICP that much easier, instead of creating a product and trying to figure out who your ICP is. Because now you have to take, so let's for example, John, I'm going to create a BattleBox subscription company. Okay, well, who are you going to target? Who are you going to curate the box for? You're modeling your first iteration of the BattleBox on who you want to sell to. It makes finding who you want to sell to easier, versus saying, I want to just start an outdoor survival subscription box company and curating it how you want to. Like all these like Gen Z coffee brands, right? They want to target the Gen Z consumer, and that's how their product is constructed and built on a platform in a way in which that ICP is targeted. You can't just create a coffee product with whatever label, whatever marketing material you want, and say, all right, now we got to figure out like who our ICP is. It's harder to do that than it is to start from the beginning and create an idea or a product or a service based on who you want that product or service to be catered towards, because then finding the channels is easier. It's harder to create something that's generalized and then try to find your ICP.
Yeah, I think
I
think if you have the two roads, you don't ever take that road. You take the road, find the community.
Yeah, the market validation.
Yeah,
right?
that's where it is.
But I feel like a lot of people don't, though.
No, I think most people don't. I think you're 100%
They think
right.
that they have a problem and they have a solution for that, and they know who their customer
Like,
is, and that's where people fail at this.
And it comes
thing.
down again with the importance of checking your ego at the door.
Yeah.
Like people
And
think they know the answers.
And a lot of people who start these businesses and brands, usually early on, usually passionate about the product. So you should have some level of market research up front.
For sure.
You know, I love products where people are solving their own problems. I feel like that's always the best products in the market, where they feel like, hey, I had a problem, I solved it myself, and I need to find individuals or human beings or groups that have that same exact problem.
Yes.
And oftentimes, if you're passionate about it, you're going to live in there. You see this happen in the car community pretty often, because, car enthusiasts, for example, tuner type enthusiasts, they all live in like a single environment, right? And so if you have that problem, generally other people have it. You can socialize that problem with other people, and you can get a pretty good grasp of, is it really as big of a problem to other people as it is for myself? And then secondly, will people have a willingness to pay to solve that problem for themselves? I mean, that's really why they always say find a problem and build a solution for that problem. Yeah. That's really one of the greatest products.
Curious car community online. Are they on Reddit, or they're on they're on other boards?
They're
right?
on Facebook groups.
Okay.
That's where the primary place you're going to
Gotcha.
find it. Or they're on old school VBD forums.
Yeah.
Right? So it depends. I've got two different cars, right, that I work on. I've got one that I have to go to an old school forum because that's just where people are. And then I've got one you go on Facebook. And there's 90 versions of the same group
Because
in
different
Facebook.
makes,
different different
models.
environment, different generation and affordability that comes with it, right?
Sure.
So one is more of a younger audience crowd, right? So they tend to be on Facebook, even though they won't use Facebook for anything
But
else.
they're on it for that.
And then the other group is an older crowd, and they tend to be on old school forum.
They never left the forum.
They
That's
never
where
left
they
the
were
forum.
10 years ago, 15
Correct,
years
because
ago.
they started, because car communities start from when the inception of the car comes out,
Yeah.
and when it's a decade old plus,
It's going to be
they
on
start on the
yeah,
old
makes
platform,
sense.
right? And that all changes, right? They could be on Reddit, they could be on X,
Yeah.
right? There's a community subsection everywhere, and I think really just who is your customer, finding that community, I love that. Go find the people and where they live, and then go to interact and talk to them and socialize this idea with them. You can't just pop out of nowhere and just be like, I'm building a product, blah, blah, blah. You've got to be a part of that community, and they've got to feel like you've got some value behind it. I think that is the key to identifying that, right? All right, let's jump into it. Now, I've identified my customer. I know who my customer is. I know who I want to bring into my customer because I validated it. How do I get it, right? We start off, and I think the easiest and lowest hanging fruit for most people is some type of social media content strategy that comes into play, right? I know, Brian, you're a big proponent of it. You obviously have a big social mind around it. But if you are starting from scratch, you've identified your customer, what does your social media strategy look like? What does it start with?
Yeah, I think at first it's all about getting out there on a consistent basis. And I think now more than ever, social media is inclusive to the fact that there are so many different types of introverts, extroverts, different verticals and product channels and entertainment channels, where I think 10 years ago, you sort of had to be this bubbly personality that, you know, infiltrated social media to have a successful channel. Now, you know, you could be a boring guy that's not social, talking about, you know, Pokemon cards with zero personality, and grow an account to an extreme.
Someone will
that
like
never
that.
used to be the case on social media 10, 15 years ago. You had to be a true celebrity personality. Now the mindset shift is anyone can be successful on social media when you find the niche and people that value what you're saying, right? So no matter what it is that, you know, you're selling, you're into, whether you want to talk about World War II every single day, whether you're selling a different pair of Crocs, whether you're selling a tumbler, whatever the case is, dog food, there is a social media platform out there. It's just, how do you take what either your passion is or what you're selling and be consistent about it? Even if it's not great, right? Your first 100, 200, 300 posts are probably going to be pretty bad. The more that you get yourself out there, the more people attach to, you know, what you're trying to do. So I would just be consistent and find the channel that where your ICP is and infiltrate it on a daily basis.
So would it just be one channel, or would you go to all your channels? Like when you tell someone on social media, the immediate thing that people think about is like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat, and they start adding all these social media layers on top of them. Do you recommend a person starts at one or go to many these days?
Yeah, I think it's so easy just to replicate and post on multiple channels, right? If you're talking your big three, right? If you're talking like Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, because you can cross post, and then you're taking TikTok and YouTube.
But
right?
they all have different ways that people are interacting with it.
But an easy way to do it, just to start it out, is just get your content out there on those three big platforms. And just being consistent with it and seeing what pops off on one channel may not pop off on another, but you at least give yourself social market validation in regards to, all right, this channel I really need to double, triple down on. Like,
meaning like you're getting their interactions and engagement.
Yeah. So you know, we're talking early here.
Yeah,
right?
super
we're not
early.
talking advanced.
Correct.
So I would say it can be very overwhelming for someone to be like, oh, I've got to post on Instagram, YouTube.
There's a fear.
Right. But the reality is, to kind of build on Brian's point, that one, at least starting off in the infancy, in the early stages, that one piece of content, whether it's a short form vertical video or some other piece, can be cross-posted on TikTok, Instagram, or Instagram Reels, depending on the type of content, or YouTube, right? And Instagram can automatic cross-post to Facebook. Like, a single piece of content initially works, and it can be put across all.
So
and it's very, very easy.
So the recommendation is to cross-post, but then at the same time, as you've said, like, go look at what's actually working and what channel's working, and then you start pushing on the channel that is actually producing results. Because we've seen this before where they may be like big TikTok people, but they post it on Instagram and no one gives a crap.
Yeah.
Like, I see it all the time.
And you see it all the time. And you can get some learnings really quick. And the reality is, those platforms are so massive there is a strong possibility you could have your ICP on all of those platforms.
Of course.
Different members of the
Sure,
ICP.
Sure.
So I think posting on all is,
So
you should.
two kind of questions here, because I think I'm one of those people, and to Jimmy, to use the word you used, people are fearful. People are worried about the time it takes and everything like this. It becomes like almost like a chore. How do you transfer this from being to a strategy instead of a chore? Like when we talk about posting, would you guys recommend that they just post authenticity over quality? And when I say quality, I mean like brand and all of that. And from your perspective, like what's the one thing you would do to make it as easy on yourself as possible, given that they're starting out new and entrepreneurs, they have a lot on their plates?
Set a fire to your past, but don't panic or fret. Live Recover is here, they'll take care of the rest. No bots up in here, just real humans with trust. Whatever you did in the past, leave it back in the dust. Make conversions are rising like your ROI. 6x your revenue, and that's not a lie. Sales team in your pocket, day and night. Bringing in-store vibes to your site, that's right. Your abandoned cart is missing the human touch. Live Recover adds real people to your texts. Live agents who chat with customers in real time, driving higher conversions and sales recovery. Setup just takes 10 minutes. Connect, chat, and convert. Just like that. Visit liverecover.com today and let them know Awesome sent you.
So I think, and this is the second episode in a row where I've said paralysis by analysis. Like, it's not a big lift, right? We're talking about, how long are you awake in a day? 12 hours, maybe 13 hours, 14 hours.
This guy sleeps 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess no.
How long am I awake? 12 hours. Wow, you get some good sleep at night,
How
John.
long are you awake working?
Yeah.
So the reality is, it should not. If it's taking you more than 30 minutes to do I'm talking farm to table, start to finish, A to Z.
Film and post.
Film, post on all those three platforms. If it's taking you more than 30 minutes, you're doing it wrong.
And that's my point, is like, what advice do you guys have to make it quick, to make it easy, to simplify?
Stop overthinking it.
Just freaking
Just
post.
go.
Do it.
Yeah.
Just go.
Selfie mode and talk to the camera.
Yeah.
You know what you're right about this, right? Like the fear comes in that what will other people think? Here's the reality. No one will actually see you the first bunch of
Yeah,
posts.
you're talking about 8 people saw it.
In some
50
random
people saw
strike
it.
of lightning, you take a viral loop and you take off. Great. But the reality is when you're starting off on social media, especially when you're trying to figure out what's working and what's not, you have no idea. And the practice and the rhythm and the cadence of getting more and more posts of frequency out there will just make you better. You will actually get invested. You'll obsess. You'll start looking at other creators. You'll start trying to figure it out. But the moment you start getting into the place where you're trying to be perfect and trying to mimic and trying to create, is when you ultimately will fail with social media. You've got to just be willing to get out there and put yourself out there. And the reality, again, is no one cares. They won't remember you, and they won't remember what you did until you do create a memorable moment. And that doesn't usually happen when you first start off.
Yeah. And I think two things. I think when you think about it in the simplicity of one viral video could change the rest of the course of your life. Like all it takes is one video to go viral, and that idea that you have that you just brought to market 30, 60, 90 days ago, that one viral video literally could change the rest of your life, because now we talk about free distribution. It's the only way to get free distribution. There's no other way in the world. You have to pay.
And I will say, just to add to this, Brian, like the one thing I will tell an entrepreneur early on is very simple. If you intend to use social media as your organic channel, you better invest in yourself and as a human and get involved on social media. And what I mean by that is you better be scrolling, you better be looking, you better be observing, you got to be learning. You can't just expect to just log in just to do your thing and then log off and expect you to actually be successful. You have to participate. You've got to be involved in inside of what it means and watch what other creators are doing, because that will inspire you and that'll get you going into the right direction.
And also now, social media has also shifted into like validation pre-purchase, where like before my wife purchases something, especially in the female demographic, it's like, oh, well, she saw a product. Oh, let me check out their Instagram. Let me check out their TikTok. But a lot of people will go to social for their own self, validation before they make a purchase.
Yeah.
Because they want to see, if they don't have, my wife will say this all the time, if they don't have an Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, she's not going to buy from them because she doesn't feel like they're legit. So now the legitimacy of
That's super
of
interesting.
having a product
It is. Well,
is having a social
think
media.
about it. There's
Yeah.
this website, and you have no idea if it's real or not. Everyone's worried about scams and spoofs and all
Yeah,
this
no, it
stuff
makes
that's
sense.
happening
You're
right
right.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't know. I mean, there's a reason why even a shop pay button is so strong, because there's a list of validation or something that, and I've purchased things from shop pay buttons, right? And I still gotten scammed.
Yeah.
And then I'll have to do a chargeback on it. Yeah, and the store will be closed in 30 days later because there was some mock-up store that someone was just collecting money on. There was this thing, for example, there was this really cool thing, and I don't know if it's a real product or not, but it was like a car wheel, right? But it wasn't a car wheel. It just looked like one, but it was a fan. And I was like, man, that's cool. I got a garage building. I'm going to go buy this thing. I paid like $90 for it. I bought it. And I kind of forgot about it. And then like 3 weeks later, I was like, where the heck is my product? So I went back on the shop pay. I saw the product that I paid for, hit the button, and went to the website, and the website was gone, right? Which means that the product was probably not real. The person collected the money. So I had to file a chargeback because I couldn't contact the seller.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
do anything. And I wanted a chargeback, and I got my
Yeah.
money back.
It's-
But that is the validation that he's talking about right
And
now.
it's the sole reason why our business and our sector of food and pet, fresh food and raw food has grown significantly the past, call it 8 years, really, is because before social really became social, the only verification a consumer had with pet food was through their vet. There was no one.
yeah,
there
or
was,
words like
right?
say, a word of mouth, where they have to call the
that's
place,
it. There
right?
was no other way for them to investigate themselves.
And then when you're feeding someone something like as a consumable,
Yeah.
like that's even bigger,
when,
right?
when you're giving when you're giving the consumer the ability to do their own investigation prior to purchase or prior to or for research, that never existed really before. You either had to go to Google, which no one really, I don't think, understands how much market share Google's losing, because we see it every day. Let's just go and check them out on Instagram. Next thing you know, they're following a circle of people that are now your educators on social, and they're not watching 2-hour-long videos that they find through Google. A lot of people aren't going to their vet more than once a year. So there's now the ability to sit on your couch and not only learn a bunch of stuff, but also educate yourself prior to purchase that didn't exist before.
Two thoughts. One, validating what you just said. Apple had announced their Q1 that Safari saw Google usage down down or flat for the first time.
First time ever.
Because of that. Going back though, okay, so I get it. You see an ad, you go to a landing page website, both your wife's experience, your experience, and then validating with social. But if I see a product and just talking about a consumer in the US, sees a product on TikTok Shop or whatnot, or another platform like that, Amazon, you're not doing it there.
Yo, OmniSend is back with some new swag. AI is now in the mix. Yeah, you heard that. Smarter and better. Let AI decide. Personalize every line. Take your brand worldwide. How about 24/7 support? MJ of basketball, but email to the sport. So sit back, relax, watch the magic unfold. Let the folks at OmniSend get your story told. Tired of staring at blank pages? OmniSend AI doesn't hit you with writer's block. Their new AI writes your emails, personalizes content, and builds customer segments instantly. Just whisper who it's for, and AI figures out the rest. Join 125,000 users already winning with OmniSend's email, SMS, and push notifications. Backed by 24/7 amazing support, visit omnisend.com today.
Yeah, you're not. I don't think you are. I think that's a different. I think that's a different consumer,
that's
though.
a different type of consumer.
Yeah, different type of
I also
consumer.
think there's an accessibility level to it, meaning like, hey, I see the business, they're on social media, they're accessible, I can at
Okay.
least contact them. They're
Yeah.
posting, meaning they're active.
There's been times where it's like we'll watch the Shark Tank, and my wife will be like, are they still around? The first thing I look at is social media, and I'm like,
their last
they haven't
post.
posted since 2021.
Yeah, they're done.
shut down.
Yeah, they must not be around.
To me, it's actually interesting. Like when I engage with new products in the cycle you're describing, it's usually when I see an ad on Instagram, my first inclination is, let me see what's going on their social. Then I go to their website and kind of take it from there.
And this is
But
a reason. And I think that, another thing that people do is they do scroll and look at all the social that they do. So even in the early days, if you're building up, you've got to have a scroll wall so that you seem more real and authentic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stories are big. They want to see the stories. And there's so many people that engage with these things that don't even will never know that they're going to be a customer or potential customer. They're just out there looking and browsing, and they fall down the rabbit hole, man. That's part of it. So I do think social is a great strategy, but if you're going to do it to build your first customers, like, you got to get really involved. And I think that's the big thing about it.
For sure.
All right, let me shift gears because I think social is a great way to kind of build that strategy. The next thing I wrote, and I think we talked about this in Alpha at this point, but community, right? We talk about finding your community. It's often on some type of social media forum or some place with it. But beyond just posting, you know, what do you think is an effective reason? Because look, I think I'm wearing a Dad Gang hat. Dad Gang was a perfect example of a product. I think they basically Bart and I can't remember who the other co-founders are. Bart's the one that's prominent, but he basically pushed on like X a lot, right? He was in there using the community and eventually got to the right influencers, seeded a lot of the people, and he got to a lot of people. But I would say that he built his initial attraction and community through a social media platform for entrepreneurs.
I sent a video of the shower.
Probably not
me in the shower, just the shower.
Kind of like acquaintances who wanted to help support him, like the style and the design they had, and they caught on him with a viral loop, right? Because I remember when Bart used to work for a company, he was just a VP of marketing.
He worked for Jake.
Jake he was working for other people because he couldn't stand up by himself, and eventually he was able to go on his own, and he was selling through social media, through the virality of X, right? He's a perfect example, but he wasn't using social media, in my opinion. He was going through community.
You're on the third.
Thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, he did exactly that, right? I think that's probably a little bit more of the non-traditional. I think.
You can also look at someone like Aaron and Nick on Breeze, right? Breeze did the same thing. They started off and launched their very unique THC or cannabis, or not cannabis, mushroom infused drinks, and they launched there on social before they took off.
Yeah, I think you have to have a pretty. I don't think it doesn't work with a niche product. I don't view either of those. I view the ICP,
they're very
the
generic,
market is so large. TAMS
huge.
is so large.
Huge.
I think it works for gigantic TAMS products.
Interesting.
But I don't think it works for when you start niching down.
Yeah. Well, when you're at the community, how do you turn those like community members into paying members? Like, have you guys thought about that? Like, how did you go to Reddit? Like, let's talk about your example. You went back in the early days. You guys went to Reddit to go validate the idea. And then how did you turn these people into buying customers?
Okay, so, we talked on the previous episode about product market fit. And, I think there's a thing called community fit.
Okay.
And I think, which we already kind of referenced earlier, you have to, you can't assume you're going to just create this community that doesn't exist, right?
Sure.
You want to be a part and have a community that's part of a community that would exist without your product.
Sure.
And so going back to the Reddit days, and there were a bunch of bulletin board-esque sites as well, where the older generation never left. The reality is, initially, we created our own. So we made we used Pro Boards.
Okay.
This is 2015, which allowed you to white label a bulletin board, Reddit-esque. And we created our own. There was no paywall like there is today. It was just an outdoor enthusiast, survivalists, love of the great outdoors group with different, categories. So we created a new channel for people. I think that's a way to do it. I think Facebook groups makes it super, super easy. Subreddits are super, super easy.
Yeah, I think even making it easier, thinking about like when I first started almost 2 years ago, we didn't have an affiliate program. We were not really dealing with, social communities. And I think what we first started to do that saw pretty quick growth on the social community side is we infiltrated other leaders in smaller communities. So like one girl, Doggy U, she only has like 35,000 followers on YouTube. But if you do your research well enough,
it's still a big number.
That's huge.
But you can also find out though how tight and big that community is, not based on follower count. So it's easier to attack and go after like these small, let's call it when you first start, 10 to 50,000 sub or follower accounts,
like micros,
but that have insane amount of engagement rate and insane amount of loyalty and community. And then you attach yourself, if you can, which with a good offer you can, attach yourself to their community, and you move one community at a time. And before you know it, you've now entered 17 different small communities without creating your own.
that's not really even community. That becomes partnership and collaboration more than it is even community.
Yeah,
Almost,
but
could
what
be
we did is we did content with
them.
With
There's
them.
still partnership and collaboration
For sure.
to build community.
Sure. Yes.
Okay, that makes
Yes.
sense.
Yep.
That's unique, and I like that strategy. I think that definitely works, especially in the early days, to go off and what you talk about. And they used to call these like micro influencers. To your point, that's changed a lot in this market. No longer is follower count is really as much as engagement and how engaged that audience is, because anyone can have a large follower count, but how engaged that audience is probably key.
For sure.
I mean, Brian rips on this all the time when we show him someone with a creator with a large follower count. The first thing he does is goes and looks at like the first 5 posts and
He's
like
they bought their followers.
they bought their followers, or their engagement is no longer, or that what's the one you like to say? Oh, they must have been a COVID follower COVID account where everyone was following everybody, and no longer is the engagement there. I think that's really interesting. What other types of collaborations do you think customers will, where you can find customers and build community besides just like social media collaborations? Is it looking into collaborations locally into farmers markets or different places that can kind of find your local community?
Yeah, I think for us, it's like we're now in breeders. We're in different like animal nutritionists and holistic vet clinics, right? We're creating these community partnerships with other ways in which consumers find a similar product or the same product. So if you're, I'll use the IPA example because there's so many breweries around, right? The brewery isn't the only place where you have to sort of figure out how to build a community in, right? It's not all about building a community inside of your brewery. It's also, hey, where do other people buy beer? And try to attach and build communities in those other channels. Because oftentimes it's very hard to, when you first start out, if we're talking first, call it year, it's very hard to build a scalable community organically, right? It's very hard to have a one-stop shop community where you're trying to build. It's easier to go and find where your consumers are buying alike or similar products and try building communities in those channels as well with partnerships.
So question for you guys, and I know for pet food, it's a special segment because a lot of people share a lot of opinions on it, what people should eat and things like that. But for general products like hats and some of the traditional consumer products, it's one thing, I think, to join a community, but I think what distinguishes, for example, the dad gang thing, it's so relatable. The brand stands for something obvious, almost stands for something obvious. How do you you have a product, but then how do you personify that product?
But you're not selling the product. I think
correct,
the thing about
exactly,
Dad Gang is, it's a great product and all that good stuff, but you're kind of joining the movement that they've designed and the
lifestyle.
The lifestyle behind it, and you're proud to wear it because the message behind it is the more important.
Yeah, they've created a lifestyle brand.
Yes, it's less the product.
But that's my question, is exactly where I was going, is how do you guys recommend that new brands dig into that?
So yes, okay. So it depends on what your product is and what your like Will over at IQ Bar. There's no brand or community behind IQ Bar. His goal is to sell the cheapest, scalable volume bar in existence. He doesn't care about community. There's no IQ Bar worshiping follower base. He's selling a product that he wants to sell at scale.
Yeah, but it's a good
to
product
make a lot of money, right?
that people like, and he does have community in that he's got a bunch of people who recommend IQ Bar to their friends because, hey, it's a great bar and I believe it's good for you.
Yes.
Right?
But in terms of but people are buying the product, right? They're not buying the idea of IQ
they're buying
Bar.
the idea of it's good for you and I'm still getting the bar that I want.
The product still has to be good though. These Adam and I hate the hats because they're super pointy.
Yeah, I don't.
We
I
bought
can't wear
them
them
because they have the big point on top. So like the quality of the hats aren't great. Like this hat is it's great. So like, but you're buying the lifestyle vision behind the brand, even though the product's not superior. Does that make sense? So you either have a product that you're selling that you want to sell, or you have a lifestyle community or vision or whatever behind that product.
Some people like the pointy hat.
Yeah,
you know?
I like it. So to go back to Mayor's initial question, though, I think that what he's trying to ask there is, how do you build that community at the early days? And I think it goes back to a lot of the things that you said on a previous pod here, is really getting people to start spreading the word of mouth if they're happy with your product. And that builds the community for you ultimately, right? Community is not something that you can force, right? You can't force community. Community builds itself based around a congregation. There's a reason why a lot of the largest communities aren't actually run by the people that actually are selling the product or service or good. It's usually the people who are a fan base of people. They're so into it. They want, seek, and desire people who like their product, and they start building around those people. Does that make sense? Like, so to me, a lot of this stuff, when you're thinking about community, there's two types to it. There's community building, and then there's community seeking. And when you're community seeking, you're going out to find customers and having a one-on-one relationship to try to get them to buy your product. The community building occurs when your product is good or your service is good, and it automatically starts creating fans that are going to go like and seek your product, and they start congregating people, and it creates its own lifeblood.
Yeah.
So there's two different types to the thought behind community.
So which one do you guys recommend a new brand should start off with?
I would be going to the community to go sell the product to go seek the people I have, and I will go off and sell at a very unscalable way of going one-on-one after these people, DMing them, contributing, trying to get them to understand in hopes that they come and buy my product, right? The community building happens later on. That doesn't happen in the early days. It's near impossible to build a community around something that no one has a product or service or product around. But you can go tap into those communities that are out there, participate, feel like a part of the member, and then you can sell people. I mean, some of the things that I have for even in my car or the car, dude, they're like community. Like over there, I thought I had in my pocket, but like I bought a key sleeve for my key. It's just a community member that built like 500 of them and is selling them for $20. And of course, I could have gone to Amazon and bought one for $15 or $12.
Yeah.
But I'd rather buy it from the community member because
100%.
he's part of the community. That's why I bought it from him.
Yeah.
He was more expensive, but I was okay because I was supporting a fellow community member.
Yeah, so TLDR, infiltrate existing communities.
Correct. Okay, moving on. We're going to your favorite strategy, Amir, in the world, right?
Giveaways?
We're talking about, of course.
Oh my
the
gosh.
One thing, we only have 12 minutes to talk about this. I look at he's looking at his clock. He's like, I need to talk about this. All right. Referral strategy or giveaways, right? You're, again, trying to get 1,000 customers for free, right? You have organic. One of the most powerful ways, and it's not completely free because you're giving away something, but you are mostly giving away through a viral strategy and different things. Amir, I'm going to kick it off with you. Let's talk about referral and giveaways. Why is it so powerful? Why is it a great strategy for people? Talk to us about it.
So I'm going to start with referrals. I think with giveaways, when you're starting off a new company and you're not like a reseller or something like this, I think you got to be more conscious about giveaways. I'm not huge on that because you don't want to validate by giving away. You want to validate by selling.
Sure.
And I think that's like one big thing.
But is not the giveaway to get the attention? Isn't the whole point of a giveaway to get attention to your brand or product or service less than it is to actually give the product away?
Yes, it's a marketing ploy.
Yes.
100% agree. What I'm trying to think of is going through the journey of getting the first 1,000 sales. I think the part where the giveaways, it will give you the attention, but it may not give you the validation or actually the sale. I think going to the first 1,000, I think the more important part is to figure out where do you fit, how can you sell, and that's why I like in this case referrals more. Because referrals kind of support that as you go through with giveaways.
But if you're getting your first 1,000 customers, referrals are very slim at that still at that point. Because how many referrals can you get when you sell 1,000 customers?
Well, the question I would actually ask you guys, how many referrals should you get?
I don't know that number. I have no idea. I think it depends on your product.
Yeah, it depends on your product. Depends on a bunch of variables.
But I think for different people, the number is going to be different. But I think the whole point is if you're not getting referrals, again, depending on the product, it's a signal for you have
But
to look into.
do you not think that a giveaway, right? Like the whole goal to me, when I think about a giveaway, it's less about the product that I'm giving away or the service. It doesn't even have to be the actual product. Like, let's just say I'm selling these mic stands, but I'm just giving away an iPad, right? Just very different, right? But why am I doing the giveaways? To get attention to my brand and product service, to build prospects, to build awareness, to get followers, right? I see people doing it. Almost does it sometimes. They're like, make sure you like my page, make sure you share this, make sure. And what you're trying to do is create more noise and market share into the market, because it's driving, though it might not be a perfect traffic, it will be traffic of some sort to your page.
Yep.
What do you think about this?
Yeah, no, I love giveaways for the customer data collection. I think it's very underutilized. We'll do, like, we just did one a month or two ago with MavPack, which is a pretty large like travel dog bag that is for pet food consumers that feed frozen, fresh, or raw food. So their ICP is the same, right? They're buying raw food already. They have a different follower base.
Great collab.
So we did a giveaway collab with them, and we exchanged unique emails with them. So I think of it too, especially if you're trying to drive your first 1,000 customers, attention to your brand, social media page, but then also you can set up different giveaways with other folks in your channel, but a different
partnership and
vertical,
collaboration.
right? And then utilizing that to gain more followers, but then gain customer data to immediately retarget and try to sell them. So if it's one way to do it really well. We do unlimited entries as well. So you can, every person you tag in the comments, and now it's so easy, all these websites where they can just pull the entries and put them into a wheel. So there's no time or effort involved. But unlimited entries, next thing you know, if it's set up right, you've just, collected thousands or starting out
potential
hundreds
people,
of potential customers. In order to gain that via paid, you have to spend thousands of dollars.
And
right?
they might not always be the best customer or the best prospect, but the reality is, in the early days when you're starting off, you just need attention, because no one will pay attention to you. So your number one goal is not always that. You are going to sell your product the way you need to sell it. You're going to position it the way you need to sell it. But if you can get enough attention, hopefully, maybe it's not John who opted into my giveaway, but it's John's friend that has this problem. And John might say, oh yeah, I just opted into this giveaway for this mic stand, but my buddy Paul actually might want it. Paul, go check them out. They sound like they're got something going on.
Yeah.
Question for you, Brian. Out of those, when you guys run your surveys, have you ever looked at how many people that giveaways, not surveys, how many people that enter the giveaway are existing customers? And then out of those that enter it, that are new, how many actually convert? And the reason I'm asking this, because us three, when you went to sleep last night, we went on Whatnot. Went to about 10 different.
What do you guys do when you're away from your family?
We were all in the same Whatnots.
12:30 at
All
night.
entering
no,
the
here's
same dollar
my
giveaways,
point.
trying to win.
Here's my point. And to use the words that you use and doing it the right way, we went to maybe 10 different channels, us three, for fun, just for giggles. We entered a bunch of giveaways. We didn't win any, but we had no intention of purchasing. I can't even tell you which ones did we enter.
Except he made a purchase.
But not on the one that we entered in the giveaway.
But he made
it
a
was
purchase.
A random one.
What did you
He
buy?
actually bought a purchase.
I bought an entry for a autographed jersey. It was like, what did I pay? $32?
$36.
Yeah.
$36.
So you guys did spend money.
He did.
But it wasn't on any of the channels we went to.
It's still just part of it. I get it. It's not perfect. But remember, I have no customers in there. I have no traction right now. I'm trying to build any traction, right? The only way you're going to do it is
I'm not against it. I like what you said.
So,
the right way of doing them.
Yeah. So, the reality is, when you do have giveaways, you are going to have, I'll use the word I use a lot, bad actors, right? They have no intent.
Yeah, of course.
They're not ever going to convert, right? So, what we've learned through the years, because we've done our own giveaway, we've done brand collabs where it's two, right, that are similar. We've done, a lot of multi-brand giveaways where it's 10 brands and $10,000 in product and everyone's sharing. And the reality is, we've learned through all of these different ones is that when you're doing it with one other brand or 10 other brands, you got to have almost a dedicated, not as aggressive sales onboarding series, right? The list itself isn't going to behave in the same way.
Do you wake up
so
before
what
7?
we do is we run it through that normal,
Got it.
not normal, we run it through the special they came in through a giveaway. Yeah. And what we do is after we get them through that flow, we then take the engaged ones and we then move them into our main list. But it is, what is mind blowing is that 6 months later, 12 months later, 18 months later, when you're looking at that specific cohort, it eventually, there is the normalization of it.
Yeah. Not me in the shower,
And
just the shower.
It does generate
Well,
revenue.
you got to remember, most of these are
Considerable.
going to be top of the funnel.
Yeah.
Never even heard of you. I've just found stumbled. Your sales cycle is going to be longer than the typical ask, right?
And it's much longer.
Yeah, it's going to be much
Once
longer.
you realize that, it's okay.
It's not. It might not even be a problem or a want or need until it becomes one much longer down the line.
Yeah.
And the way algorithms are set up now, like all you need to do is showcase to your algorithm that you're looking at BattleBox once, twice, 3 times in a given week. Next thing you know, more BattleBox stuff starts popping up.
Yeah.
So the algorithm plays into effect as well. The more that you're in front of the consumer, the better your chances are of retargeting them organically. You know?
What about like ceilings, right? So in a good marketing effort, we always think about marketing, and you think about, you're in a marketing cycle, you're pushing and promoting. When does it actually dry out? You know what I mean? Like sometimes it eventually doesn't work. It might get your first 1,000, might get your first 10,000, but eventually it might stop working too. At the same time, you either become the de facto, everyone in that community is purchased from you, whatever it might be. What do you guys think about is the thing that tells you that you've hit a ceiling when you're working in an organic channel? What do you guys look at? Have you felt like you've hit any organic channel ceilings?
100%.
Okay. And what's the indication for you? Is it just sales, conversions, interaction, engagement?
Yeah. I mean, I think all of the above, probably a little bit less on the engagement side, more just sales and CACs and, what we're getting out, what the return is on the money spent on that channel or or organic time spent. I definitely think we've hit saturation.
Yeah, I think free traffic's hard because you do hit some level of saturation. I mean, Brian, have you felt as you've explored different things that you guys are working on, like what's saturation look like to you?
Yeah, I mean, we're still super early. I mean, like the TikTok thing, for example, we had no followers 4 months ago. Now we have 15,000 overnight. But I think I also think it depends upon if you're niched. Like I would consider BattleBox a niche subscription brand, right, or a product service. It's not a traditional, like fishing channels do really well on social, where I follow this guy. He has like 12 million followers on TikTok, and he just goes around and fishes different ponds across the United States.
I love that guy.
And he just like, so it also depends on what you're selling, your product or service, what market you're in.
Sell anything? I don't actually know.
His own lures.
Oh, yeah, I didn't actually know he sold anything, but I like his channel.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. So, but for ours, the raw sector is very niche, right? In terms of people that feed raw food, it's a smaller TAM, but the dog side of it is obviously larger. So it's all about finding the right organic videos that pop in regards to, because we could pop and do dog basic content and sort of like grow, get 100, 200, 300, 400,000 followers that just like cute dogs or whatever the case may be, but the actual consumer that wants to purchase raw food is a different type of social media follower. So I guess it all depends as well on what you're selling and realizing, like John's ceiling now, a lot of people, John's BattleBox has been at this for years, right, at this point. And a lot of people, I think, give up a little too early on social because, like I always say, like one post could change your life.
On random thought, Almost should definitely do a pop-up down here in Dallas, probably on the street corner right outside.
Jimmy and I have seen 45 dogs.
I've heard
over
them.
here.
There's a lot
so
of
many
ton of
dogs
them.
here. You should have a street corner pop-up here in Dallas because there's a big dog community here. I thought Austin was like, coming from Austin, I thought we had a lot of dogs, but man, Dallas has a lot of dogs.
Texas is just such a pain to ship frozen.
I know. It was stupid.
Just because of the heat or the distance?
Yeah, it's a large mass of land, and there's not a lot
only
of
two hubs.
Thank
three
you for the
hubs.
geographic education on Texas.
Houston,
really
Austin,
big.
San Antonio, and Dallas. If you're here, you probably will encompass
and a lot of money in Texas in terms of household income is spread out outside of your major metropolitan areas.
Sure.
So now you're talking about transporting frozen goods from however far away to deliver 7 hours on the west
With,
side of
with the
Texas.
with the new infrastructure you're doing, where's the
Yes.
central?
Yeah, so so it would be it would ship out of California,
Yeah.
and then we're having Indiana and then New
Okay.
Jersey.
So Indiana would be the center.
Yeah, Indiana, or depending on where you live, California. if
Okay.
you're- Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, no, I think this is really helpful. Even if you have an established business today and you're still looking to figure out how to get your organic movement going, I think a lot of the things that we're talking about would be helpful to get your organic traction moving, because if you've relied on paid and you're realizing organic is pretty important, this is pretty important.
Yeah.
All right. I want to ask one final question for our wrap up. What's the single most important mindset shift that entrepreneurs need to make about organic acquisition? What is the thing? Brian, I'm going to start with you, because both you two both have organic, but I feel like you're in the midst of it right now. And I know people come up to you and they're like, man, how do you get it going? What's the biggest piece of advice you give people when they're thinking about organic traction?
Yeah, I would say that it's going to be very hard when you first start, in terms of just literally posting, not even coming up with the idea, just getting in the mindset of posting. Like on LinkedIn, for example. I don't post multiple times a day, but I'll post once or twice a day, and typically that's around my bathroom time. So it's like, once you find time,
dedicated bathroom.
yeah,
time?
dedicated LinkedIn bathroom time. So like, it sounds so stupid to say in person, but like when we were down in CR Miami,
it sounds
for example,
pretty dumb.
when do you like find time to do this? Because I don't just do text, right? I do videos and I edit and
you're using the
recaption,
bathroom, and you know,
and
we
I
just
do
don't
it when
know.
I'm on the John,
And we just don't know.
and you have no idea. No. That's when I typically post. But the more that you do it, right? I think there's Mr. Motivation over here, the mayor of motivation. That's you, Amir.
Yeah.
Someone once said, I don't know if this was, I think it was Benjamin Franklin, actually, the light bulb guy, right? Or was he bifocals?
Guarantee you, Benjamin.
No,
Franklin
he was
did not say this.
what was Benny? Benny was
He had the glass. He had glasses. He had
They all,
long hair, but
everyone
not a
had
lot
the
of hair on
Oculus
top.
back in the
Yeah.
day.
he invented everything, because nothing existed back then, right? But anyways, that's neither here nor there. So
What did he say? What's his quote?
So he said, the longer you do something hard, the easier it becomes. So I think that's the social mindset you have to have. At first, it may feel a little wonky. It may seem like it's taking up a lot of your time. It may seem like the payoff's not there. But the longer that you do it, the easier it becomes, and then the more successful you'll be at it.
John.
Yeah, I think Brian brings up some really good points. Going back to your question about saturation, I feel like saturation exists, but there's ebbs and flows, right? Like right now, I might feel like we're hitting saturation, but then we have a couple of videos that do really, really well, and we see an uptick, and we get a few million views, and a couple 10,000 new followers, and all of a sudden the top of funnel has changed a little bit. I think just going through it, understanding that you're not going to see the results even close to when you want to see them. You have to come up with a process and trust the process, and just know it's such a long game.
Yeah.
It is the longest game. People complain about SEO being the long game, whether we're talking about traditional SEO or new, AI centric SEO. This is the longest play in the playbook.
And Amir, what do you got? What's
I
the
got
advice?
two quick ones. Don't sell the product, give value. It's not just about posting about your products, but actually contributing to the micro moments somebody might have and helping them get through it.
Yeah, that's huge. Your content shouldn't be selling.
Yeah.
That's so important. We didn't say that yet. That's
yeah,
good.
and the second one is don't have a monologue, have a dialogue. Because if you're just posting and talking from your lens, from your perspective, you're not actually engaging people. You have to go in and engage people, and whether it's off of your social profile or on your social profile, not just about posting and forgetting about it, is actually finding conversations to be part of.
Yeah,
That's
a good
good.
one.
Monologue.
Mayor of
I like
motivation.
that. Amir, motivating everybody. And
Yeah.
I think the only thing that really resonates with me at all of this at the end of the day is just post more social media. It doesn't really get that much more difficult. Just do more of it and
you'll eventually find what works.
you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's really just a habit. When I started my social journey, I guess like 2022 roughly it was, I put a little post-it on my monitor and wrote, just post once a day. That was how I started my post. Now I'm posting 3, 4, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times across multiple times.
Reposting.
Reposting, pre-posting, this posting. I have no idea what I'm doing sometimes, but well, the results speak for themselves. And so that's what I really think is the most important. All right, guys. Well, for John Roman, the CEO of BattleBox, Brian McDonald, director of Almost Pride, I can't even say his last name, Brusnich, Prince of Motivation. What do we call him?
Mayor of Motivation.
Mayor of Motivation. Yeah. And he builds fancy, shiny websites.
Yeah.
My name is Jimmy Kim. I'm the moderator, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.
Welcome to the ASOM Pod, where we talked a lot. Ecom was the path that we walked a lot. But now the question is, will you subscribe or not?